Gitti's wake, well, first of all, came from a box of photographs, or two boxes of photographs that were found behind Ostbahnhof in Berlin. They were neatly tied up with string and everything like that. They weren't discarded, they weren't thrown away, they were meant to be found. And when I went through them, I saw there was about 200 photographs, mostly of this woman called Gitti. Brigitte, probably, most likely, or Bridget. And during the COVID times, I managed to lie the photographs out to try and get them in some chronological order. You had a whole person's life in front of you. And they were really well taken photographs. Not just from her childhood, but also when she got into adulthood and maybe she was married. I'm not sure she was married because there's no real wedding photographs, but she definitely had a partner, a life partner. And from time to time she travelled, and I thought it's a shame that these photographs were just left in a box on a bench. I should do something with them. And that's where the idea came about, that I'd do a wake, which is an Irish tradition. When you have somebody who's just died, the tradition is that you lie them before the funeral. It's not a funeral, it's before the funeral. You have basically people who come into the house to see the person who's deceased, to bring them back to life. And in a sense, by doing Gitti's Wake, which we installed as an installation in the Signals Festival, but we decided to use the mechanism of the Irish Wake is to give her a good send-off and to show other people these photographs that were so wonderfully taken. And not just of her, but of her family. There was older photographs, maybe of her grandfather, her great-grandfather, really, really old. They would have been taken with plate cameras. Latterly, they would have been taken with roll film cameras, 120 film cameras. And that's a passion of mine. I buy and sell cameras all the time, mostly folding cameras and plate cameras. And I could see, well, I have cameras that these photographs could potentially have taken something like these. I'm not saying I have the actual cameras, but something very like them. And so we decided to use the mechanism, so to speak, of the Irish Wake, where we'd bring Gitti back to life, show her photographs, show the cameras that would have taken these things in the golden age of photography, all German folding cameras, Zeiss Icon, Voigtlander, Certo, all these. And then latterly maybe that Gitti was in the East, I think ended up in the East after the war, some of the old Russian-made cameras. And then we made an installation out of it where we hung them around this box, about 150 of them. The two windows on the rotating axis, that was the transition from a normal window into eternal life. And that was a painting done by Kieran McClelland called Porta del Sol. And in the middle of it is gold, and it's the symbol, the alchemy symbol of the philosopher's stone. But it's also a symbol for eternal life. So you're going through that window and off into eternal life. That was the symbolism of that. The mirror covered is, the mirror is considered as a gateway to another dimension. And the reason it's covered is because you don't want the spirit of your loved one going into another dimension. You want them to go out into eternity, and not to confuse the spirit, and maybe even to hold it in the house, which wouldn't be a good sign or a good thing to do. So traditionally the mirrors are covered, the windows left open, and the clock is stopped at the time of death. I had a lot of conversations with people, particularly with German people, that were very touched by all of this. What we get to is a kind of realization of other people's grief. That's what they talked about, that it reminded them of somebody they knew, whether it be a family member or somebody that had passed. And I think a lot of people were touched by it. not just by the quality of the photographs, but by this woman's life,